That's a new gas station going in. Big old growth in this area. And they put in traffic lights here. These traffic lights have only been here a couple months. And they're opening up all the exits and entrances to the highway. Making turning lanes. Before it was just like one lane to go left and right. Now they have, you know, a lane for the left and a lane for the right. And that's the entry down to the Hyundai plant down there. Yeah, that's opening up the entrance over here. Water tower. Look at that. This motovlog is going to be a video response to BCTruck, and I watched the video where he was talking about inheritance, how he knew a guy who passed away, and in the house that he's at now, and none of his relatives wanted anything that the guy had. There was one relative who wanted to see if there was any antiques or anything that she could sell, but nobody really wanted any of his common everyday stuff. Reminded me of the story back when I was in college, probably like 97 or something. Yeah, I think about 1997. A relative of my wife's passed away, and her father and her uncle were the beneficiaries of her estate. And her uncle really didn't need the money from the estate. He was pretty well off. Her father, my wife's father, he lived too far away to come get any of the stuff. We lived closer. I think we're about 3 hours away. Her father is probably like 12 or 16 hours away. So, and me being a college student at the time, and my wife being a teacher, you know, we had enough to get by, but we could definitely benefit from household goods. So it was a Thanksgiving weekend, and so I didn't have any exams or anything going on. So we hired a friend from church to go up to her relative's house to pack up as much as we could take. And both my father-in-law and my wife's uncle said, take whatever you want, you know, and just make sure the house is as clean as possible. So we went up there and rented the U-Haul. I think the biggest U-Haul they could rent you. And we packed this 4-bedroom house for 3 days. And being Thanksgiving weekend, everything was closed where we were at. We couldn't even find a restaurant to go eat at. So we ended up going to a convenience store and getting a box of fried chicken and microwaving it, and that was our Thanksgiving dinner that night. But we packed everything up. We got beds. She had, the relative had tea carts, a lot of those collectible plates, Hummels. I don't know if the people know what a Hummel is. It's like a ceramic figurine. The relative had plates like Gone with the Wind plates, you know, all those I don't know, collectible companies that you see on infomercials. And beds, We got a bunch of beds, bed frames, all kinds of kitchen equipment, utensils, blenders, and what else? Oh, and she had 2 dogs. She had 2 full-bred miniature puppies, or toy poodles, and we could not. We didn't have the means to keep the 2 poodles, so we ended up posting them for sale, and we sold them to a nice family. Some of the items we left behind were these porcelain dolls. So her relative collected a lot of these little porcelain dolls, and so my wife left them in a box, a good sized box, so that when her uncle came down, her uncle lived relatively close, he was going to come inspect the house and put it up for sale. And so my wife told him, hey, I left a box of porcelain dolls for your daughter. And he didn't say much about it. Turns out I think he just put them on the street. And I can't remember how we found out. Maybe it was one of the neighbors called us, or called my wife and said, yeah, hey, there's a box of these porcelain dolls on the street. Can I have them? And my wife's like, well, I thought my uncle was going to take them. I don't know if he left them there. And she said, yeah, I saw your uncle come, but he's gone. He left. He's not here anymore. So my wife's like, well, yeah, if you want them, take them. So that was kind of a bust. You know, we could have taken them and probably sold them and made a little money, but yeah, her uncle really didn't care. Either that, or, you know, he was on taking a flight and he really couldn't take them with him. I don't know what the reasoning was, but he just put them out in the street. So we came back home the night after because Thanksgiving's on a Sunday, so Monday we drove home, and we got home about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'm in this big huge U-Haul box truck, and I pull into my neighbor's house in front of me so I can back up into my driveway. Well, the street has been repaved so many times that the hump over the driveway was so big that when I backed up into our driveway, I got stuck. I couldn't go forward, couldn't go back. I tried putting 2x4s under the wheels, and it was just stuck there. So we ended up having to call a tow truck to come pull the U-Haul off the hump. So then so finally, when he got us unstuck, I just parked it sideways in front of my house, and we unloaded with the truck in front of my house. Eventually we had a yard sale. Yeah, we made a few $100, not a whole lot. We put a lot of it in my outdoor garage, and the problem with the neighborhood I was living in was that it was flood prone. So if there was a big storm or a big tropical storm that hit, the whole neighborhood would flood. And we weren't expecting a flood that year, but eventually there was a big storm, and there was like 2 feet of water in the garage. So everything that was on the floor in the garage was just waterlogged. So we had to throw away a bunch of stuff. But anyway, that's the story of when we inherited a house full of goods from one of my wife's relatives. I'll put a link to Brad's video below. And that's all I got. Later.